gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Wildcat Playbook podcast right here at Beyond the Big Ten. Make sure you follow us at Beyond the Big Ten wherever you enjoy your socials. We're covering your action for college football and college basketball all season long with weekly content, up-to-the-minute news. So make sure you please check us out. My name is Joey Christopoulos. Let's bring in our host to talk about, God, we're getting tired over here talking about all these Cats wins. Cats win again, 23-15 over Purdue. So let's bring in our host. He's former Bears defensive end, former Wildcat standout, CHGO's very own, Fox 32's very own, and West End Golf Club, giving you some fantastic holiday deals coming up right around the corner. It's Corey Wootton. What's up, Corey?
What's up, Joey? Another great week, man. Northwestern, they're going bowling, baby. They are going bowling. Who would have thought that, Joey? Just this guy right here, right? I called it, man. They call me Woostradamus, man. They call me Woostradamus now.
You did. Corey, you're an optimistic dude. You're always looking at trying to figure out situations to find things on the bright side. But if anyone remembers, at the beginning of the season, we did win prediction totals. I picked 4. The over-under in Vegas was 2.5, and Wootstradamus himself landed on 6. He said maybe 7. We'll find out this week. But, man, yeah, you crushed it. You nailed it, dude.
Yeah, it's good to see, Joey, because a common theme that we talk about is everything that happened in the offseason, kind of the uncertainty of what this team would be, the identity. And hats off to Braun, the head coach, like really turning around this season, the guys for turning around this season, because they were 1-3, I believe, right, to start the season. Am I right?
Yeah, they're 0-2. They picked up that win, that non-conference win, and then they lost again. Yeah, they were 1-3.
1-3. So start the season, everyone kind of thought maybe is there one more win left, maybe 2 if they're lucky. And then I talk about that Minnesota game was kind of that turnaround game for them, that critical point in the season where they were either going to go up or down. And they rallied back, were able to get the dub on there. Like, hats off to them, because since then they've been a lot more consistent. Offensively, they've been getting things going. Defensively, they've been generating pressure. Now, we need to talk about the running game, but as far as pressure, we've seen consistent sacks from defensive linemen, which we didn't see in the first 4 weeks, right? Hubbard's still on a streak. He had a half sack in this game, but he's still on a sack streak. It's good to see guys flying around the football, and hey, hats off to David Braun, right? He got announced as the head coach, so that's a huge thing for the team, right? The kind of uncertainty, was this going to be a season deal? I'm still on the fence about this, to be honest with you, Joey, because I really admire what David Braun has done, to be honest. He seems like a likable guy. He's turned around this season. But if I'm looking at from a Northwestern football perspective, right? Northwestern has never been able to take the next step to win a Big Ten title recently, right? They've never been able to challenge an Ohio State, a Michigan. And I talked about that. Cliff Kingsbury or someone with that type of name would bring in the offensive, the quarterback that you never had in Northwestern's career, right? That stud, a guy that's a 5-star, a guy that's going to be playing on Sundays, that's going to be in the top 2 rounds, you know? Mm-hmm. Northwestern has never had that, right? They've had some very talented quarterbacks, but I think the biggest thing is I thought they would hire somebody like that to take the next step, right? Because if I'm looking at it from a recruiting standpoint, right? If someone hears David Braun's name, they're like, oh, he's not a big name by any chance. He has a chance to be someday, but I would have much rather hired somebody that's a huge name, Joey, because I think that would do wonders for recruiting. Especially, we talked about the common denominator from when Northwestern does well and they don't. It's the quarterback position. And who better than an offensive guru? So I'm okay with the decision to bring Braun back, because I think they wanted to make a good situation out of this, right? Because of what he was able to do last year. They only had 1 win, rallied to 6 wins this season. They're playing pretty good football. But I just think from the recruiting standpoint, right, Joey? If you're a top recruit, even if Northwestern was on the radar, would you want to play for him or would you want to play for Ryan Day? Or Jim Harbaugh?
Right. Yeah, it's a great question, man. And look, obviously Ben Bryant made the choice to come over from Cincinnati, obviously to play quarterback for Northwestern. That's a great step in the right direction. But, man, you're bringing up such a great point when you look at guys like when Sam Hartman changes schools, when Jaden Daniels starts in Arizona State, where he ends up with his career. I mean, this stuff now happens all the time on the regular. It's a normal occurrence for the recruiting process of going out there and finding not just the dudes from high school, but existing players in college programs, bringing them into the Northwestern Wildcat program and the system, and then you win off of it. Now, look, man, here's the deal. Now, to be very fair, I pulled up the schedule. UTEP was week 2. So they went 1-1. But here's a couple of things about it, right? And this is, I think, a couple of feathers in the cap of Braun that he deserves, right? If you're looking at this schedule here, I'm not seeing, and call me if I'm wrong, someone shot me out here, I'm not seeing a 2-game losing streak on this entire schedule. Okay, so they did not lose 2 games in a row once this season, Corey. I think that says a lot about the coaching staff. It says a lot about the players in the room. And then obviously on top of it, when you name him the interim coach into the full-time head coach, we see all the videos on Twitter and on socials about the team and the fans, the team and the players really galvanizing and loving it. And obviously they go out. And look, man, they played well on both sides of the ball against Purdue, right? They held them to 0 points in the first half. They gave up 303 yards rushing, which you're not going to be a big fan of, Corey, but obviously they got turnovers, they got sacks. They did what they need to do. Again, that was another sign that they responded to Coach Braun getting the full-time gig. But here's the rub on that, Corey. All that credit where credit's due. To your point, a lot of these guys are not going to be in the program next year. We got a lot of sixth-year seniors, got a lot of guys moving on. So that's the big question, right? You want to reward Braun for what he's done this year. But you're asking a very fair question of, is he the answer to take the program to the next step, a program that still needs a lot of work?
Exactly. That's my only question, right? And I understand it, Joey. I understand Northwestern and Schill and the president, the AD, what they're thinking behind this, right? We named him as the head coach. We're going to reward him as this. But the thing is, you just got to think of the future, right? You can't think of right now. And when it comes to recruiting, that's the biggest thing that stands out to me, right? You have David Braun, or you have Jim Harbaugh, or you have Ryan Day, or you have Kirk Ferentz, or you have some of these legendary coaches, Brett Bielema, right, from Illinois, right? What's the difference when you're thinking about it? If you're competing with all these programs for recruits, I think what it comes down to now is who's the biggest name, right? Marcus Freeman, right? You look at Deion Sanders, Nick Saban. Everybody wants to play for the big name. Why? Because nowadays it matters more so than ever because of the NIL deals. That matters much because it's a business. College used to be like this. You put your head down, you work hard, you usually stay in the same program. We don't see too many. Transfer portal has changed the game.
Wide open.
Deion Sanders talked about it, Joey. He said, it's kind of hurting a lot of these guys coming out of high school now, right? Because there's not as many scholarships available. Because why would you not want to have a guy that's had a COVID year, a guy, that's a 6-year, 7th-year senior? We've seen 8-year seniors sometimes. It's unbelievable. People have been playing for a long time because of the COVID year. So why would you not want a guy that's proven, that's been in systems, that's had experience over college? So it's just such a different game. And that's my only thing I was thinking of because I love what he's been able to do. I thought maybe they'd retain him, as a D coordinator stuff. But obviously if they're bringing in new staff, they'd probably clean house anyway. But it's just a tough situation because it just brings up that point about what are the next steps and what are you trying to accomplish from Northwestern? Do you want to be a middle-of-the-pack team that sometimes has a good season here or there, or do you want to be a powerhouse, right? And I look at the schedule, right? And I think the Maryland game was a critical game, the Minnesota, but they're not playing Ohio State this year. They're not playing Michigan. Penn State in the second half beat the brakes off them. So when you talk about the top 3 teams, they haven't been able to compete with them for a long time. And that's what I'm talking about for Northwestern, to take them to the next level, like when Gary Barnett was here, when Randy Walker first got here, right, when they won a Big Ten title. That's what I'm trying to get Northwestern to be. And I think they can be that, but it's a game now, Joey. It's not how it used to be. It's NIL deal, and it's whoever head coach has the biggest name.
Corey, try and explain something for me because, look, I understand, the optics of it can make it seem like that there's a discomfort there. And I think in other industries, I think you can easily pull it off. But for some reasons in sports, you cannot pull it off. You just mentioned Braun came in, he got put into a difficult position. The guy has never been a head coach really at any kind of level ever. He just got the defensive coordinator role in the FBS in general. So why would it be so uncomfortable to have just made him the defensive coordinator and given him that role and then brought in a head coach? I mean, you go, oh, ruffle feathers, he's already been in charge. He's the guy everyone leads and looks to in the room. But we're already talking about a team that's looking at massive turnover on the starting side, on both sides of the football. You've been in locker rooms before. Is it really that weird? Would it have been that weird to have just made him the defensive coordinator and go out and get an offensive-minded head coach for the next 10 years?
I don't think so at all. Especially when you're looking at it, because I think he's proven defensively that he can get the job done. Right? They got to clean up some things, but I think it's hard sometimes because a different head coach would be like, "Nah, I'm not relying on this guy that I haven't worked with before. I don't know the ins and outs of his scheme and system," and then bring him here. So I think it would have to be clean house. I understand it, but it's just back to that point about taking the next step, right? Taking the next step as a Northwestern program. Because for the longest, they always say, oh, yeah, they'll have a couple good years here or there, and then they'll have a couple bad years. But how about instead of the bad years, have very consistent years, and then your great years, you're competing for a Big Ten title, right? That's what I'd like to see from Northwestern. Take the next step and start to get better recruits with this NIL. There's no reason, especially a school like Northwestern, with the intelligence level of a lot of these quarterbacks, to be able to get into a school like Northwestern. We got a little bit different circumstances we're fighting against, right? You have a little different standards than the traditional, D1 teams. But I think if they can recruit the quarterback position, like get a stud, intelligent guy that is a dude, I think that'll put Northwestern. You just look at all the teams that are balling right now, right? Michael Penix, J.J. McCarthy, right? The reason why they're not predicting Ohio State, right, to go there potentially is because their quarterback. Penn State, same thing, right? Penn State has a great defense. They have a defense that can play with anybody, but offensively they just can't get it done.
Florida State loses Jordan Travis, and all of a sudden they're out of the CFP altogether. And they won. They won over the weekend, Corey. So, I mean,
So quarterbacks matter.
Quarterback is king. And so I guess, like, my other thing, too, as well, is that the part of it that's kind of rubbing me a certain way is, like, look, man, like, I think it really is important to try and celebrate this Wildcat season because I think the expectations were so low after such a distrustful and honestly kind of unseemly summer for the entire program. I mean, me and you were every single week we're like, holy moly, 5 wins, 6 wins. But Corey, let's be honest, man. Next year, though, if they're 6-5 heading into the final week of the season, I don't think it's going to hit the same way, right? I think there's going to be a level of disappointment. I think we're just kind of, per the proportion of the expectation of this season, I mean, I'm wildly impressed and honestly kind of entertained by this 6-win season, hopefully 7 wins versus Illinois. But, I mean, next year, right, you can't sell that story again. So bringing Braun back, there's now results that are attached to that.
Exactly. That's kind of my fear because I told you, Northwestern, this was a classic season for them where you don't expect anything. They overperform, right? And they they beat a lot of teams that they shouldn't have beaten, and that's classic Northwestern. But to take the next step, you have to consistently be in games and not have those bad losses, right? You look at the good teams, even comparing Detroit to Chicago this past weekend in the NFL, right? Detroit gave Chicago every chance to win that game, right? Jared Goff was turning the football over, and they still couldn't get it done. Why? Because good teams know how to get it done and win the games, even when they're playing awful. So that's the difference between a Northwestern and a Michigan and Ohio State. I want them to get to that level, and I think they can. Because think about if they get the NIL deals popping at Northwestern. Yeah. Like, think about all the wealthy alumni. Patrick Ryan, CEO of Aon Corporation, right? Billionaire. He built the stadium. He's building the new stadium. He's putting a lot of money into that. All the successful people at Northwestern, there's no reason why we should not have one of the best NIL funds in all of college football. right? The prestigious university with a track record of excellence in every field out there. A lot of successful multimillionaires, billionaires. So Northwestern, if they want to compete, they have to get that NIL deal. And Jacob Smith is a guy I play with, and he's running that NIL. So maybe we'll get him on here and kind of talk maybe what they're going to be doing going forward to really help and build that and grow and be able to compete with some of these teams out there.
Oh, that's a great call. We would love to have him here on the Wildcat Playbook. We got a couple more minutes left to go in our show this week. Corey, man, I want to, if it's cool, man, I want to do some shout-outs. If you want to shout out a Northwestern player, go for it. But I want to do a quick shout-out for a guy here right now that honestly really showed up last week. I think, on the regular, I think a lot of teams, when we're talking about the Northwestern Wildcat offense, other teams are kind of making fun of us. But we have a deeper set of weapons than people realize. And I just got to shout out this one guy, man. Like, honestly, I've been talking about him all year, and I just really appreciate him. I got to shout out Cam Johnson, man. Now, this is a guy. Now, look, he's tied for the team lead in receiving touchdowns. I think he's second behind Kurtz in receiving yards because Kurtz had that huge game for 215 yards. But, every single week we talk about the quarterback position. Can they get the run game going? The electric ability of Joseph Hyman. A.J. Henning's always making a play. But you know what, man? Cam Johnson, you'd appreciate this, man, on former teams, is as steady as it comes. If you pull it up, he's had over 8 games with at least 40 receiving yards. And in the one of the games that he didn't have 40 receiving yards, he scored a touchdown. So you know what? In the ups and downs of this entire season, when we're talking about how we felt at the beginning of the year to where we are now, going bowling at 6-5, I just want to shout this guy out, man. I mean, like, these are foundational pieces. He's kind of been a glue factor on offense. And every single week, maybe nothing flashy, he gets 40, 50 yards here and there. And then last week, of course, he has that fantastic run for 60-plus yards. So that is my shout-out of the week. Cam Johnson on the Wildcats, man. You have shown up from day one, and you continue to perform. Shout-out to him.
Exactly. That's awesome, man. You got to show him a little love. And the guy I got to shout out, Cam Porter, right? Yep. I love the energy he brings. 2 touchdowns in this game, almost went for over 100. Averaging almost 6 yards a pop. Just been a consistent force in there. And he doesn't have the juice that Hyman is, but he's quick, he's powerful. And Northwestern, when they need a big play, they need a first down, they need a touchdown, he's come through. So Cam Porter, hats off to you. I would like to get your guy Hyman, because then we get the thunder and lightning going. It'd be nice to see that, Joey. I don't think they give Hyman enough touches, but Cam Porter, salute you, man. Running backs, they don't get enough credit nowadays, so I gotta give you your flowers.
Yeah, these are players, Wildcats players, that we're thankful for this season. That's for sure. Couple more topics real quick before we get out of here. The first one, obviously, Corey. Everybody's talking about it. Everyone will be watching. Quote unquote the game coming this Saturday. Ohio State, Michigan. I want to get your take on who you think has the edge. Who do you think's going to win? Where are you going to be watching it? And give us a quick breakdown, man. How do you see that playing out?
Yeah, I think this is a game that for a while has been really lopsided, right? When you talk about Ohio State and Michigan, Ohio State since early 2000s up until 2 years ago, I mean, they've controlled that rivalry. I think Michigan only won 2 games maybe in a span of almost 20 years. So Ohio State has really controlled that. Now Michigan's had it back-to-back years, and it's just been so interesting, right? Because I did broadcasting with Braylon Edwards from Michigan, and I know he's loving it. And back when we were working on the Big Ten Network together, he was hating it because Ohio State was whooping him, and vice versa. So all the Michigan guys are loving it now. Ohio State guys are like, oh, well, when I played, it wasn't like that. So it's the back and forth that I love. And there's no rivalry like it, right? It's similar to like a Green Bay, Chicago, right? It's been lopsided for a while, right? And all of a sudden, one team overtakes it, and that's what I'm hoping Chicago can do. Now that Aaron Rodgers is gone, they can overtake this rivalry. They lost the first one, but same thing like Michigan's doing, right? They're taking back what's theirs, right? Because in the 70s, 80s, they were rocking, and now they're back again. So I think they're going to win this game. I think it comes down to the quarterback position. It's a big theme in college football this year. I think J.J. McCarthy playing lights out right now. I love what he's been able to do. And Michigan, right? They haven't had a quarterback like him in a while. Really, I think the best quarterback they probably had since him has probably been what, Chad Henne, maybe. I'm trying to think.
Yeah,
I'm talking
Henne's
about true.
You can't count Brady.
Yeah.
You can't really count Brady, right?
Yeah.
He split time with the dude who went off and played baseball. Chad Henne seems like the call there of an actual guy that ended up going on and playing in the NFL and was a good signal caller. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, but it's I think it comes down to quarterback play. That's what allows teams to be very consistent in college football, it seems like this year. Mm-hmm. And in any level, right? The quarterback position, once you can get that figured out, you can get a consistent force in there, a guy that can make plays with his legs, with his arm, and limit the turnovers. That's the key, you know? And then you look at the running game. With Corum, been unbelievable what he's been able to do. So that's why J.J. McCarthy, he's talented, but having the run game there, being able to work the play action, I think that just fits right into it. And I think they're going to win 3 in a row this year, Joey, against Ohio State. And I think a lot of Buckeye fans are going to be upset.
Well, yeah, they're going to be upset because that could possibly pop them out of the CFP. If Ohio State loses, do you think they get it launched out of the top 4? I guess it depends on what happens with Bama and Georgia, right? But we've seen Washington slip into the top 4 right now. Is this kind of like a winner goes home in terms of the CFP for you for our 2 Big Ten teams?
That's what we thought last year too, and it ended up working out. So you never know how they're going to view things, right? Both teams have played pretty well and haven't lost, but you just never know. You know, I think it's interesting because Florida State right now they're out of the consideration. I wonder if they're going to give a team like Washington, you know, a legitimate chance. You know, I know the strength of the schedule factors in, but what Penix and company have been able to do over there has been pretty impressive. They put up points, so it's going to be interesting to see. It's always that time when you're watching it, you know, right before, kind of leading up to the selection. You're wondering which way they're going to go, how they're going to view things. You know, strength of schedule. Are they factoring in something more than another? This one game in particular, that one loss. Are they holding against you, or are they saying, oh, they're one of the better teams? So that's why we saw Ohio State and Michigan get in last year, and it's going to be interesting. So I'm looking forward to it. It just stinks because I think they're 2 of the top teams, and I think it just stinks that there has to be one team that loses at that point. And it would have been awesome to see them both face off in the finals in the championship. It was close. It was close because both teams played well. But, hey, I'm just excited because Michigan is back. It makes this rivalry that much better. Watching it in the previous years, you weren't as excited for it because you knew Michigan wasn't able to compete. You know, when Rich Rodriguez is there, good luck. You know, a little bit afterwards they were getting better, but I think Jim Harbaugh took him to the next place. And it's going to be interesting to see this year with the Bears if they go out and try to poach a guy like him. You know, throw him a lot of money. Because he is a brilliant offensive mind. Look what he's done with Colin Kaepernick in the past. Look what he's done with Andrew Luck in college, J.J. McCarthy. He's known as a developer of the QB position, and that's something in Chicago, whether it's Justin Fields or they draft somebody. That could be a good fit, Joey.
I mean, your lips to God's ears on that one, because they definitely need a change in Chicago. That's for sure. Yeah, man, you're making a great point. My thing is that my personal stance right now is I'm probably leaning because of the politics. If Michigan loses, I think they have a stronger chance of getting dropped out of the top 4 than Ohio State. I think if Ohio State lost, I still think there is a world that they could hang on to that 4 spot. And of course, obviously, if Bama beats Georgia, you know, all bets are off. In terms of the order, you know what I mean, of the 4 making them. But there's a part of me that just kind of thinks maybe college football wouldn't mind Michigan not being in the college football playoff. I mean, in the short term, they're going to get a lot. They're going to get a great rating with Harbaugh, you know, returning to the sideline for a playoff game. But that can only stretch so far because at the end of the day, I think it does come down to the kids, the athletes, the players. And maybe college football would just be, you know, it would be cool just maybe Michigan, I don't know, not being in the playoff this year. Don't have to worry about it. Don't have to sanction. Don't have to pull any banners down. Don't have to do anything else like that. So we'll have to see. Corey, before we get out of here, it's Thanksgiving, man. Just tell the good people, man. Give me your top 2 or 3 favorite Thanksgiving foods, and we're gonna roll out of here.
Man, I'm a big ham guy. I don't really like turkey, to be honest with you. I know it's controversial, but I think honestly, like even I've smoked the turkey and that's been better. If deep fried it before. There's something about that ham with the brown sugar that just hits different. So I think it's got to be ham, mac and cheese for sure.
Yes.
And then if I had to pick it would probably be candied yam, sweet potato that my grandmother makes. So those are probably my 3 favorites. And then for dessert, it's got to be the apple pie / cobbler a la mode, with the ice cream scoop on there. That's probably. What about you?
I'm a turkey guy, so we would get along just fine. I like the turkey. I like the turkey probably over the ham. Give me some great gravy on there. I love, this kind of sounds simple, but I love a lumpy mashed potato. You know what I mean? Yep. It's got creamy, but it's still got a little bit of the lumps in it. And you drop the butter in there. I think that's super rad. Mac and cheese, 1,010%. And then the last one is I make it every year, so maybe this is a little bit of it's either a nostalgia thing or I'm just being selfish right now. I do like a cornbread casserole. So it's like a cornbread, but you're incorporating a cream corn, regular corn, a little sour cream, a little butter, and you get a little bit of that kind of going on. That makes me think about it. And then bread.
So question.
Shit ton of bread.
You know what I love? Those little crescent rolls. Those are my favorite, right? The little croissants. You know those things. Yeah, you slice them. You get that butter in there. You fold them, and you leave it for about 30. Come on back. Exactly. And then the itis that you get after you eat, especially when you're watching football, your dad or grandfather is nodding off because he's so tired and because that tryptophan hitting different out of the turkey.
It'll be 28-7 Cowboys over the Commanders, and you'll be one eye open, slowly going down for the count, and that's what you do on the holiday, and that's what makes it amazing.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing about Thanksgiving, man, Joey, is I think people lose sight of it sometimes, but I think it's big about family, right? And that doesn't always just mean your direct family, because a lot of people have friends that are family as well. So I know people do the Friendsgiving thing if they can't be around the regular family. But there's a lot to be thankful of and spend time with your family or friends or family, whatever you want to call it. But we all have a lot to be thankful for. And sometimes going through our daily lives, we kind of lose track of that, right? Because of all our obligations or what we have at work or this. But we all have a lot to be grateful from. Grateful for my family. Grateful for working with you, man. It's been awesome. We've been going on for 3-4 years now. So I finally met you in person this year. So I appreciate you and what you bring to the table, man. And it's been awesome seeing you grow and seeing us grow together. So really thankful for that, man.
I'm incredibly, dude, that was so well said. I'm incredibly thankful to obviously our presenting company here, Beyond the Big Ten. What better way to just get together and talk about sports, and you get a chance to put it in a microphone, and then you get to interact and hear the reactions of fans around you, and we get to have conversations about it. And it isn't about being right, it isn't about being wrong, but it's just about being passionate about it at the end of the day. Man, I don't know if I can really add much more than what you just said. It was so well said. I will say maybe my only advice is obviously to Corey's point, if you feel compelled to bring up maybe have an inflammatory conversation or bring up a topic that you feel like maybe something that will going to bring in a bunch of different opinions, I don't know, maybe table it and just have another crescent roll. You know what I'm saying? Just, I don't know, just appreciate the people around you and smile and be thankful for the things that you have, which is the food and the friends and the family that are around you, and maybe leave some of the more inflammatory rhetoric for a different day. And I promise you those problems will still be there the very next day, but maybe you can just kind of table that for a second and just have yourself a nice time. That's probably my recommendation.
Exactly. It's never as good as it seems, never as bad as it seems. So sometimes you got to put your pride to the side and go with the flow, right? You got to pick your battles, just like on the football field or any sport rather. You got to pick your battles in life. So live to see another down, live to fight another down, and that's how I've always looked at everything. But yeah, extremely grateful for all the opportunities and blessings we've all had, and it's been a fun ride, fun journey, and not only for us but Northwestern this season, and what Beyond the Big Ten has been able to bring to the table. Right, we did great tailgate over at Northwestern Penn State game. Looking to do that in the future, right? That'd be something that's awesome. Really gaining traction in there. So shout out to Evan Turner and the rest of the Beyond the Big Ten team. And Joe, you're killing it doing the football, doing multiple shows with other people, doing the Big Ten basketball as well. Now that the season started. So yeah, shout out to Joey. Joey, you continue to kill it, and just keep doing your thing, my man.
I appreciate you, my friend. You inspire me every day. I need 3 or 4 more jobs to get up to Corey Wootton status. Because my man, you're right. You're everywhere. You're everywhere, and you're doing everything, man. And I'm so proud to just be in your sphere to watch your success and your star continue to shine, dude. It's the best. It really is the best, man. And the future,
thank you, brother.
Future's bright for both of us, man. And always rooting for your success.
Thank you,
guys. That's gonna do it. That's gonna do it on a Wildcat Playbook, you guys. The Cats are 6-5. We got a holiday coming up. You're about to see your friends, your loved ones. We're gonna have food on your plate, and then they get to play Illinois next week to possibly go to 7-5, and then we could talk about some bowl matchups next week. So thank you so much for tuning into this show right here at Beyond the Big Ten. Follow us at Beyond the Big Ten. Wherever you get your socials. We're going to be covering college basketball all season long. College football, it's coming to an end, but we have some off-season plans, some really interesting exclusive off-season plans that hopefully we'll be able to present to you guys soon. So thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, if you appreciate this show, we would be thankful if you would tell a friend or two to check us out. Until then, be well, be safe. Please be good to each other. Go Cats. We going bowling. We'll be back.